Imagine this: someone says something harsh to you. Maybe they insult you, criticize your work, or question your character. The first instinct, almost like a reflex, is to react, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, to lash back with words or emotions. But this very instinct, this immediate reaction, is where your power starts to slip away. Every time you react impulsively, you give that person control over your emotions. You hand over a piece of your energy, and once given, it is nearly impossible to reclaim immediately. Master Shi Heng Yi often teaches that the ultimate form of strength is not found in physical dominance or verbal confrontation. True strength is the mastery of self, emotional mastery. When someone hurts you, whether intentionally or unintentionally, your first act of power is to pause. Take a breath. Do not immediately respond. In this pause, something remarkable happens. You reclaim your power. You separate yourself from the chaos that the other person is trying to drag you into. You create a space between stimulus and response, a sacred space where choice exists. You may ask, but what about justice? What about standing up for myself? Understand this: choosing not to react does not mean tolerating abuse or accepting disrespect. It means that you first protect your energy and calm your mind before taking any action. Actions taken in anger are rarely wise. When you are calm, you see clearly. You understand the intentions behind the words. You realize that often the hurtful behavior reflects the other person's inner struggle rather than your value. By not reacting, you refuse to fuel their negativity. You deny the world the satisfaction of seeing you upset. And in that denial, you build invincible strength. Silence is also an act of wisdom. Consider water. When you pour water onto rocks, it does not fight, it does not resist, it simply flows. And over time it shapes the hardest stone. Similarly, when you resist the urge to react, you do not give yourself over to fleeting anger or bitterness. You flow through the situation with grace, and eventually your composure becomes your strength. People notice it, even if silently. Your calmness becomes a force that commands respect far more than words could. Now, how do you practice this? Begin with mindfulness. Pay attention to your reactions. Observe the moment someone hurts you, and acknowledge the emotion, but do not act on it immediately. Count to 10 or even 100. Recognize that the insult or hurt is external, but your reaction is internal, and that internal reaction is yours to command. You hold the power. In this pause, you also protect your relationships, your peace, and your dignity. You teach others without speaking that their words do not control your soul. This is the beginning of the journey toward emotional freedom. The world will try to provoke you, but every time you master the art of not reacting, you gain a victory that no one else can take away. You become the observer, the master, the silent warrior who cannot be shaken by mere words or actions. And remember this: reacting out of hurt only extends the cycle of pain. Choosing silence does not just protect you, it transforms the entire energy around the situation. When someone hurts you, it often feels like a shockwave passing through your mind and body. Words sting. Actions wound. The mind races, replaying the incident, questioning your worth, asking why this happened. It is natural to feel this way. Human emotions are designed to react, but here lies a profound truth: that few understand. The hurt you feel is not inherently dangerous. The danger comes from how you respond to it. This is the moment where you either lose your energy or reclaim it. The choice is yours, but it is only made consciously when you pause and observe your reaction. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that emotional mastery is the foundation of a strong life. To transform hurt into inner power, you must first acknowledge the pain without allowing it to dictate your actions. Let it enter your awareness. Name it, feel it, but do not cling to it. Do not allow your identity, your self-worth, or your peace to be determined by another's words or actions. When you give your power away through reactive behavior, You strengthen the source of negativity rather than yourself. But when you hold your ground internally, when you let the hurt pass through like a river flows around a rock, you cultivate resilience, a resilience that cannot be taken from you. Consider this analogy. A martial artist trains not only to fight others, but to master themselves. They learn to control their breath, their posture, their timing. In the same way, when someone attacks you emotionally, your first discipline is inward. Observe the urge to lash out. Observe the desire to argue, to retaliate, or to express your pain. Recognize it fully, but do not act immediately. This awareness itself begins the process of transformation. It shifts your perspective from victimhood to mastery. It reminds you that the external world has no absolute control over your inner world unless you grant it that control. Why is this so powerful? Because human energy is finite. Every moment you spend reacting to someone else's negativity is a moment you are not investing in your growth, your peace, or your purpose. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with rocks. Every insult, every act of hurt is another rock added to your load. If you react, you pick up the rock and carry it, often in anger or resentment. But if you choose not to react, if you let the rock fall to the ground, you are free to move lightly through life. This is not avoidance. It is liberation. It is the first step in transforming hurt into power. Now, let us talk about the transformation itself. When you encounter someone who hurts you and you choose not to react, an extraordinary alchemy begins. What initially seemed like pain can become fuel for strength. The energy you would have spent on argument or resentment is redirected inward. You gain clarity about your boundaries. You understand your triggers. You develop patience. You cultivate empathy, because you begin to see that hurtful behavior often arises from fear, insecurity, or ignorance in others. By refusing to react, you do not just protect your peace, you elevate your consciousness. You are no longer a participant in the negativity. You become an observer, a silent master of your own energy. This transformation also has profound effects on relationships. Consider a family member, a colleague, or a friend who consistently hurts you. Immediate reaction may temporarily satisfy a desire to defend yourself, but it often escalates conflict and deepens division. By practicing non-reaction, you change the dynamic entirely. Your calm presence becomes a mirror for others. They begin to encounter a person who does not feed into chaos, someone whose strength is not measured by forceful words or anger, but by serenity. In this way, your non-reaction does not make you passive. It makes you a subtle yet undeniable force. You become someone whose energy commands respect, without needing to assert it through aggression. The path to inner power is, however, not instant. It requires repeated practice and conscious attention. You must train yourself to see each moment of potential hurt as an opportunity. Each insult, each slight, each painful interaction is a chance to exercise your mastery. Ask yourself in those moments, do I want to give my energy away, or do I want to rise above? Do I want to be consumed by this, or do I want to transform it? These questions create a pause, a sacred moment where choice exists, and in choice, power exists. Another essential aspect of this transformation is self-awareness, understanding why you are hurt, what triggers your reaction, and what fears underlie your emotional responses gives you unprecedented control. The moment someone hurts you, they may not even realize the impact of their words or actions. Yet, your response can either magnify or diminish that impact. When you respond in anger, you perpetuate the cycle. When you remain calm, you interrupt it. You model a different way of being. You show without words that your energy is untouchable. This is the essence of true power mastery over the self. Finally, remember that this practice is not about denial or suppression. Transforming hurt into inner power is about acknowledgement, observation, and conscious choice. It is about taking the energy that would have been spent on reactive emotions and using it to strengthen your mind, your spirit, and your purpose. With time, you may notice a profound shift. Incidents that once would have unsettled you barely ripple your consciousness. You discover a quiet confidence, a deep sense of peace, and a resilience that can withstand the storms of life. Hurt no longer weakens you. It becomes the fire that tempers your spirit, forging strength, clarity, and wisdom. So today, commit to this practice. The next time someone hurts you, pause, breathe, observe your emotions, acknowledge the pain without feeding it. Let it pass through like water over stones. Redirect your energy inward. Learn from it, grow from it, and rise above it. Transforming hurt into inner power is not just a technique, it is a way of life. A life where you are no longer a victim of circumstance, no longer reactive, but a master of your energy, a guardian of your peace, and a beacon of calm in a turbulent world. When someone hurts you, the instinct to respond immediately can be overwhelming. It is natural to want to defend yourself, to clarify, or even to retaliate. Yet, there exists a deeper, quieter power in choosing not to react, a power that transforms not only your inner life, but also the dynamics of your relationships. Master Shi Heng Yi often emphasizes that the energy you project in moments of challenge defines the respect you command and the influence you wield. Non-reaction is not passivity. It is a strategic, mindful choice that creates strength, clarity, and honor. Consider the dynamics of a workplace, a family, or even friendships. When conflict arises, immediate reaction can escalate tension. Words spoken in anger often cannot be taken back, and actions taken impulsively may leave lasting regrets. By choosing non-reaction, you interrupt this cycle. You refuse to add fuel to the fire. You create space, a sacred space, where clarity can emerge. In this space, emotions cool, logic returns, and insight begins to appear. Others may act out in anger or disrespect, but your calmness becomes an anchor. Your silence speaks louder than any argument. People notice it, even if subconsciously. They recognize that your energy is untouchable, and this recognition cultivates respect naturally. Non-reaction also reshapes your relationships by establishing boundaries without confrontation. Often, people hurt others not out of malice, but because they are unaware of their impact. By refusing to react, you communicate that their actions will not manipulate your emotions. You demonstrate that you are not controlled by external forces. And this is a subtle yet profound boundary. It shows that while you allow interaction, you do not allow emotional exploitation. Over time, people who consistently encounter your calm, measured responses begin to respect your presence and recognize the wisdom in your restraint. They learn, even unconsciously, to moderate their behavior. Non-reaction, therefore, is not avoidance. It is a form of quiet, unspoken guidance. Moreover, non-reaction allows relationships to deepen because it creates space for understanding and empathy. When we react impulsively, we often act from ego, pride, or fear. We respond to the surface of the situation rather than its depths. When we pause and choose not to react, we allow time to understand the underlying motivations of others. Perhaps the person who hurt you is struggling internally, facing pressures you cannot see. Perhaps their words reflect fear, insecurity, or pain that has nothing to do with you. By remaining calm, you develop the ability to respond thoughtfully, rather than react emotionally. And when responses are thoughtful, relationships are strengthened, not weakened. The practice of non-reaction also enhances personal perception. When you choose silence over reaction, you cultivate self-awareness. You notice patterns in your emotional triggers. You understand which situations truly deserve your energy and which do not. This insight allows you to navigate life with precision, allocating your energy to people and circumstances that contribute to growth, rather than those that drain you. Others will notice this discernment. They sense a person who is unshakable, deliberate, and wise. a person whose energy is not wasted on trivial provocations. This perception alone commands respect far beyond what words or assertiveness could achieve. Non-reaction does not mean suppressing your feelings. It does not mean tolerating abuse. It means choosing the timing and manner of your response, if one is needed at all. Consider a tree in the storm. It bends with the wind, but it does not break. Its strength lies not in resistance, but in measured flexibility. Similarly, in relationships, responding in anger or hurt often breaks connection, while measured non-reaction preserves both your dignity and the possibility of meaningful engagement. By mastering this, you cultivate a reputation as someone calm, composed, and unshakable, a person others instinctively trust and respect. Another important aspect is the long-term effect on self-esteem and confidence. Immediate reactions often leave us feeling drained, regretful, or vulnerable. We replay arguments, imagine scenarios, and question our responses. When we practice non-reaction, we protect our energy. We maintain control over our emotional state. We strengthen our sense of self because our happiness and peace are no longer dependent on others' actions. Over time, this cultivates unwavering confidence. You understand that respect is not something you demand, it is something earned naturally through composure, wisdom, and mastery of self. The quiet power of non-reaction speaks louder than any boast or display of force ever could. In the context of leadership, non-reaction becomes even more vital. Leaders who react impulsively often create fear, confusion, or resentment among those they guide. Leaders who pause, observe, and respond with clarity inspire loyalty, respect, and trust. Non-reaction allows leaders to assess situations accurately, make informed decisions, and guide others with integrity. Your energy, when controlled, becomes magnetic. People are drawn to calmness, to stability, and to insight. They recognize that your presence is not volatile or unpredictable. In essence, non-reaction transforms not only individual relationships but entire environments, familial, professional, and social, by modeling behavior that others naturally aspire to emulate. Finally, the practice of non-reaction cultivates deep, enduring inner peace. When you are no longer at the mercy of others' words or actions, you live in freedom. You move through the world with a lightness of spirit. The judgments, criticisms, or negativity of others no longer dominate your mind. This inner peace is attractive. It draws positive energy, fosters healthy relationships, and invites opportunities. People want to be around those who radiate calm and confidence because such presence reassures them. By mastering non-reaction, you transform hurt into power, chaos into clarity, and superficial respect into deep, enduring admiration. In life, moments when someone hurts us often feel urgent. Words can cut deep, actions can wound unexpectedly, and the mind races with thoughts of defense or retaliation. Yet true mastery lies not in reaction but in non-reaction. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that non-reaction is a cornerstone of mental clarity, long-term success, and the cultivation of an unshakable inner life. Choosing not to react in the heat of the moment allows your mind to remain clear, your energy focused, and your path forward unobstructed. Consider the human mind for a moment. It is like a delicate instrument, capable of profound insight, creativity, and vision. Yet it is also highly vulnerable to emotional disturbances. When someone hurts you, and you immediately react, the mind is hijacked by emotion. Anger clouds judgment. Resentment distorts perception. Fear limits decision-making. You may think your reaction serves you, but in truth, it often serves only to perpetuate chaos. By choosing non-reaction, you protect your mental clarity. You prevent external forces from hijacking your focus and sabotaging your progress. Mental clarity is not merely the absence of confusion, it is the presence of perspective, understanding, and the ability to act in alignment with your higher purpose. Non-reaction creates the space for this clarity to emerge. When you pause before responding, you step out of the immediate storm, you observe the situation with a broader lens. you recognize patterns, motivations, and consequences. This awareness allows you to respond intelligently, if at all, rather than impulsively. Over time, this practice sharpens your judgment, enhances your decision-making, and ensures that your energy is directed toward meaningful actions rather than fleeting emotions. Success in any form is closely tied to emotional mastery. Individuals who react impulsively often sabotage their own progress. Arguments, conflicts, and wasted energy divert attention from goals and priorities. Non-reaction, however, redirects your energy from unproductive engagements to personal growth, strategic thinking, and purposeful action. By maintaining calm in the face of hurt, you preserve mental bandwidth for creativity, problem-solving, and leadership. This is the subtle but profound difference between those who achieve long-term success and those who falter under the weight of emotional turbulence. Non-reaction also enhances resilience, which is a key attribute of success. Life is unpredictable. People will challenge you, situations will test you, and unexpected adversity will arrive. If your natural response is reactive, you remain vulnerable to emotional exhaustion and discouragement. But if you cultivate non-reaction, each challenge becomes a training ground. You develop patience, self-control, and adaptability. You learn to navigate difficulties with calm and composure, turning potential setbacks into opportunities for growth. Over time, this resilience becomes a defining feature of your character, earning you respect, trust, and influence in every sphere of life. Moreover, non-reaction fosters long-term mental and emotional health. Reacting impulsively to hurt not only depletes energy, but also generates stress, anxiety, and regret. Thoughts replay negative interactions, magnifying their impact and creating unnecessary suffering. When you choose non-reaction, you interrupt this cycle. You allow emotions to settle naturally, preventing long-term damage to your mental well-being. Your mind becomes a sanctuary rather than a battlefield. From this inner sanctuary, you can approach life's challenges with composure, clarity, and strategic insight. Consider the impact of non-reaction on professional life. Leaders, entrepreneurs, and high achievers encounter criticism, opposition, and conflict regularly. Immediate reaction can escalate situations, alienate allies, and diminish credibility. Calm observation and measured response, on the other hand, communicates confidence, wisdom, and strategic thinking. Non-reaction allows you to see opportunities where others see obstacles. It allows you to turn criticism into learning, conflict into collaboration, and adversity into innovation. By mastering this skill, you distinguish yourself as a person of depth, reliability, and vision, someone whose success is rooted not merely in action, but in disciplined mastery of mind and emotion. Non-reaction also sharpens focus and productivity. Energy spent on anger, resentment, or arguments is energy diverted from your goals. When you refuse to react impulsively, you redirect that energy toward creative endeavors, skill development, or meaningful work. You cultivate a life where effort is proportional to results, where every action is intentional rather than reactionary. The ability to focus deeply without being derailed by external provocations becomes a competitive advantage. Those who master non-reaction navigate life with precision, accomplishing tasks with efficiency and maintaining emotional balance even under pressure. Furthermore, non-reaction enhances long-term relationships in personal and professional spheres. Reacting to hurt often damages trust, creates tension, and fosters resentment. By contrast, responding thoughtfully or choosing to remain silent preserves dignity and maintains harmony. People recognize those who are unshakable, composed, and deliberate. Your calmness becomes a magnet, drawing respect, admiration, and even inspiration. Non-reaction demonstrates emotional intelligence, maturity, and strength of character, qualities that elevate your personal and professional reputation. Lastly, the practice of non-reaction cultivates a life of deep meaning and fulfillment. When you are no longer at the mercy of external negativity, you experience freedom, the freedom to act consciously, to invest energy wisely, and to pursue your highest goals without distraction. Hurt no longer controls you, clarity guides you. Your focus, determination, and calm presence become your most powerful assets. Life becomes less about reacting to challenges and more about creating, leading, and evolving. Non-reaction transforms every hurtful encounter into an opportunity to refine your character, sharpen your mind, and advance your life purpose. In conclusion, non-reaction is more than a strategy for emotional survival. It is a path to mental clarity, resilience, and long-term success. By choosing silence, observation, and deliberate response, you protect your energy, preserve your focus, and cultivate wisdom. You develop the ability to navigate challenges with composure, transform adversity into growth, and inspire respect in every environment. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that when you no longer react to external provocation, you achieve a state of mastery over yourself and your life. In this mastery lies true power, the power to live deliberately, create meaningfully, and succeed without being derailed by the opinions, actions, or negativity of others. Life is full of moments designed to test our patience, resilience, and inner strength. Often these tests come in the form of hurtful words, disrespect, or actions from others. It is in these moments that the choice to react or not react becomes the ultimate exercise of spiritual strength. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that true mastery of life is found not in controlling the world around you, but in controlling yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your responses. Non-reaction is the gateway to this mastery, the bridge between external challenges and inner peace. When someone hurts you, the immediate reaction is often anger, frustration, or defensiveness. The mind races with thoughts. How could they do this to me? How should I respond? How can I make them understand? These thoughts, while natural, tether you to a cycle of suffering. Every reaction strengthens the bond between your peace and external chaos. But by practicing non-reaction, you sever that bond. You reclaim your energy, and in doing so you reclaim your spirit. This is spiritual strength, not merely emotional resilience, but the cultivation of a consciousness that is untouchable by external disturbances. Spiritual strength emerges when we recognize that every hurtful interaction is an opportunity for growth. Each insult, slight, or provocation is like a mirror reflecting back areas of our mind that need attention, our fears, insecurities, or attachments. By choosing not to react, we create the space to examine these reflections without judgment. We see the source of our discomfort not in the actions of others, but in our own mind. This awareness allows us to transform pain into insight, weakness into strength, and reaction into conscious choice. In this transformation, the spirit becomes resilient, centered, and free. Non-reaction is also an exercise in detachment, not from life itself, but from the ego-driven need to be validated, to defend, or to control outcomes. The ego demands reaction. It wants to assert, defend, and prove. But the spirit understands something deeper, the value of peace, presence, and purpose. When you stop reacting to external provocations, you stop feeding the ego. You cultivate humility, patience, and discernment. You live from a higher perspective, seeing life not as a battlefield of insults and offenses, but as a journey of growth, learning, and spiritual refinement. Consider the analogy of the ocean. When storms pass, the surface may churn violently, but the depths remain calm, vast, and unshakable. The person who practices non-reaction is like the depths of the ocean, unperturbed by surface-level turbulence. Words, actions, or slights that would once disturb the mind now pass by like waves breaking on the shore. The spirit remains anchored. This inner steadiness radiates outward. People are drawn to it. They feel the calm in your presence, the certainty of your energy, and the wisdom that comes from mastery of self. Spiritual strength is not shown through confrontation, it is felt through tranquility. Non-reaction also deepens compassion and understanding. When we react in hurt or anger, we see only the surface, the action, the insult, the offense. But when we pause, observe, and refrain from immediate reaction, we allow empathy to enter. We recognize that every person acts from their level of consciousness, their experiences, and their limitations. We understand that hurtful actions are often a reflection of someone's inner struggle rather than a judgment of our value. Through non-reaction, we cultivate a compassionate heart, not weak or submissive, but strong, discerning, and wise. Compassion becomes a natural extension of our spiritual strength. This practice also aligns with the principle of surrender, not surrender in weakness but in wisdom. Surrendering to the present moment, to the reality of external actions, does not mean accepting harm or injustice. It means acknowledging reality without unnecessary resistance. The energy that would be spent on reaction is redirected toward growth, reflection, and purposeful action. In surrender, the mind finds freedom, the heart finds peace, and the spirit finds its true strength. Through this lens, life's challenges become teachers rather than tormentors, guiding us toward mastery rather than suffering. Non-reaction ultimately leads to mastery over life itself. When we are no longer enslaved by the need to respond, defend, or control, we step into a state of freedom. We act with intention rather than impulse. We engage with life fully, yet without attachment to outcomes dictated by others. This mastery manifests in every area: personal relationships, professional endeavors, creative pursuits, and spiritual practice. Our energy flows unblocked, our focus sharpens, and our presence becomes magnetic. People sense a quiet power within us, a power born not of domination but of restraint, understanding, and unshakable inner peace. Even more, non-reaction cultivates joy. When the mind is no longer tethered to hurt, resentment, or the compulsive need to respond, life becomes lighter. You begin to notice beauty, connection, and possibility, where before you saw only conflict or offense. Your relationships deepen, your work flourishes, and your spiritual practice matures. You realize that true happiness is never dependent on others' actions, but arises from mastery of the self. Each moment becomes an opportunity to exercise this mastery, and every challenge becomes a chance to deepen your spiritual strength. Finally, remember that non-reaction is a lifelong practice. There will be moments of difficulty, moments when instinct tempts you to react, and moments when old patterns resurface. But with patience, awareness, and repeated practice, the choice not to react becomes a natural expression of your highest self. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that mastery is not perfection, it is consistency, mindfulness, and the conscious cultivation of presence. Every time you choose non-reaction, you fortify your spirit, deepen your wisdom, and move closer to true freedom.